It's no secret that new Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers has no love lost for the New York Jets. The quarterback has previously been critical of the team's leadership, specifically how the organization told him they were planning to release him this offseason. But in a more recent conversation with NFL analyst Mark Schlereth, Rodgers was more critical about the Jets from a schematic standpoint. Specifically, Rodgers blasted New York's running game during the 2023-24 seasons. One thing Aaron and I had a conversation about when he was with the Jets was how abysmal their running game was and how schematically it made no sense, Schlereth said on the Stinkin' Truth podcast. I brought up the conversation. I started the conversation, and then Aaron went on for about a 25-minute diatribe on just their run game. The statistics support Rodgers' argument. The Jets finished with the second fewest rushing yards in the NFL last season. Only the Las Vegas Raiders had fewer. Running back Breece Hall, who averaged 5.8 yards per carry as a rookie before an injury in 2022, posted 4.2 yards per rush last season. During the 2023 campaign with Rodgers on the sidelines for all but handful of plays, the Jets were ranked 22nd in rushing. Aaron Rodgers rips Jets' running game. Schlereth, who, in so many words, admitted on the podcast that he is close friends with Rodgers, agreed. The former offensive lineman wasn't impressed with the Jets' running scheme last season either. Schlereth explained that's actually how the conversation started. He had questions about the Jets' poor rushing attack, and while asking Rodgers about it, the quarterback went on a diatribe. It was just the worst schematic run game I've ever watched in the NFL, Schlereth said on his podcast. I kept watching plays. There's a difference between having guys that can't block people. I've seen that too, right? But having your players do things that make zero sense. This makes no sense. Why in the world would you block this way? There's zero chance of this being successful. The Jets fell behind in a lot of games, which could explain some of why they didn't post more rushing yards. From a yards per carry standpoint, the Jets finished 16th in the league. But the lack of total production put a lot of the offensive weight on Rodgers. The Jets also scored only 8 rushing touchdowns, which was tied for second fewest in the league. Schlereth praises Steelers' ground attack. The Steelers were 11th in rushing yards last season. Interestingly, though, the team finished behind the Jets in the yards per carry category. Should the lack of efficiency with Pittsburgh's ground game be alarming for Rodgers, especially since the Steelers didn't re-sign starting running back Najee Harris? Schlereth, at least, argued no. One thing I know about Arthur Smith, he does a great job in the run game, Schlereth said. And he does a great job with personal groupings. Multiple tight ends, multiple running backs. Really run the ball and marrying the running game with the play-action game. He's excellent at that. With Smith's running philosophy, Schlereth argued the Steelers will take care of first and second down for Rodgers. Then, the quarterback will have to shine on what head coach Mike Tomlin has often referred to as the weighty down, which is third down. That sounds great on paper. But again, the question is whether the Steelers' running game can accomplish that without Harris. Although he wasn't particularly efficient, Harris did gain 1,000 rushing yards in his 4 seasons with the Steelers. This offseason, though, he left in free agency. JALEN Warren will replace him along with third-round rookie Caleb Johnson. TJ Watt is currently in the midst of a contract dispute with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's because he's one of the best players in the league, and he feels like he should be paid as such. Watt has been dominant in his 8 seasons with the Steelers, accumulating 108 sacks. He's the Steelers' all-time sack leader, and he's trying to cash in with one more big contract. However, analyst Charles McDonald doesn't believe Watt is a top 10 defender in the league going into this season. He's one of the best defensive players of this decade, McDonald said recently on the podcast Football 301. If I can say you're one of the best defensive Pittsburgh Steelers of all time, you are certified. I just thought that last year, for me at least, where you have these years where TJ Watt is in DPOY contention or he wins, or he comes in second to Myles Garrett, and Steelers fans are freaking out. I think if you looked at some of the metrics at even his best years, it's a little boom-bust as a pass rusher. Where he's not getting consistent pressure, I think like a Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons. I thought last year was a little bit too much boom-bust for his game. The rest of McDonald's list consists of Jalen Carter, Kyle Hamilton, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Derek Stingley Jr., Fred Warner, Patrick Surtain II, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons. That's a solid list of some of the best defenders in the NFL. However, leaving Watt off feels wrong. Players like Garrett, Parsons, and Surtain are in the same realm as Watt. Two of those players are among the elite pass rushers in the NFL, and Surtain was the Defensive Player of the Year last year. Jones and Lawrence make sense too. They're some of the best defensive linemen in the league. There's a good case to knock off one of those other names for Watt, though. It's fair to criticize what Watt did last year. He ended the season quietly, finishing the year with 11.5 sacks, his lowest total in a healthy year since he was a rookie. However, he also had 6 forced fumbles, which led the league. While it might have been a down year by his standards, Watt was still incredible. Bosa is likely the player that could most easily be taken off of McDonald's list for Watt. They're both edge rushers, so it's easier to compare them. Bosa has been one of the NFL's elite pass rushers for years. Last season, he had 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception in 14 games. That's after he posted 10.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in 2023. While Bosa is an amazing player, it's tough to say that he's better than Watt. Those numbers aren't everything, but Watt's been a more productive player than Bosa. Even after a down year, there's a great case to make that Watt is better than Bosa. McDonald wasn't the only analyst in that video that didn't list Watt as a top 10 defender, either. Matt Harmon also didn't include Watt, and his reasoning was a little different. The only reason that I couldn't put TJ Watt on the list is because I think Cam Hayward was better than him last year. And Hayward wasn't making my list. Maybe that's stupid logic, but that's a big part of why I didn't have one in my top 10. Harmon's top 10 was very similar to McDonald's, except he had Aiden Hutchinson on his list instead of Lawrence. Considering Hutchinson only appeared in 5 games last season due to injury, having him on the list but not Watt feels a little surprising. However, Hutchinson was on pace to win Defensive Player of the Year before that. If he recaptures that form, then he could be in for a big year. However, it still might be a little soon to crown Hutchinson. Watt has been one of the best players in the league for years, and he's still a top 10 defender. Without him, the Steelers are a much worse team. The last time that Watt got a new contract, he tied the single-season sack record. Perhaps he'll have a similarly explosive year this season if he and the Steelers can get a deal done. For a moment, the idea felt real. JALEN RAMSEY in black and gold, patrolling the secondary with Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay. It was a tantalizing thought for Steelers fans, one that sparked hope of building a defensive backfield as fearsome as any in the league. But now, as the offseason drags on, those odds seem to be slipping away. The Steelers have reportedly been one of the few teams showing real interest in acquiring the 3-time All-Pro via trade. With 24 career interceptions since entering the league in 2016, Ramsey brings both elite production and a big-game mentality, exactly the kind of player you'd want in Pittsburgh. But according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Ramsey would like to go to the West Coast, to Los Angeles, Rams, Chargers, somewhere like that. That's a long way from Acrisure Stadium. It's disheartening news, no doubt. Ramsey's potential arrival in Pittsburgh had fans dreaming of a true lockdown secondary. Imagine opposing quarterbacks looking out and seeing Slay, Porter Jr., and Ramsey on the field at once. It's a nightmare for them and sheer joy for us. The Pittsburgh Steelers should not JALEN Ramsey's preferences distract them. But if Ramsey isn't feeling the Steel City, so be it. We don't need players whose hearts aren't in it. Truthfully, this move was never make or break. Yes, Ramsey would elevate the defense. He's a former Super Bowl champ who thrives in the spotlight. His physicality and confidence would fit the Steelers' culture perfectly. But let's not forget the pieces we already have. The front office made a bold move in March, signing Darius Slay to a 1-year, $10 million deal. Pairing the veteran with the ascending Joey Porter Jr. already gives Pittsburgh a strong corner duo. Add in defensive coordinator Teryl Austin's savvy leadership, and this unit can still be a problem for offenses, even without Ramsey. It's a bit of a letdown, sure. But that's how the business goes. Players have preferences, and sometimes, Pittsburgh isn't at the top of the list. We've been here before. Like always, we'll make do, with or without a superstar. Let Ramsey chase the West Coast sun. Meanwhile, the Steelers will keep building, grinding, and waiting for their moment under the bright lights, Ramsey or not.